Lumia 640 XL. Now, taking a look at the box, the very first thing we can see is the Zeiss logo. Turning to the back, we also have another Zeiss logo and another Zeiss logo. In addition to the big camera which is on display, it is clear from this box that Microsoft wants you to pay attention to the camera. We can also see on the back that the phone comes in a number of different colour options, including white, orange and cyan, in addition to black, which our review unit was supplied in. Now, opening the box, the first thing that we come across is the device itself. And it's a chunky customer, I must say. In fact, it is the largest phone that I have ever owned or had a chance to use. And I must say that, yeah, I'm intrigued to see how this will turn out over the next few days and weeks. So, taking a look at the front of the device, we have the minuscule call microphone, the slightly bigger call speaker, 5 megapixel front-facing camera, which is very, very important these days for the kids and their selfies, an ambient brightness sensor, and a Microsoft logo. We also have the 5.7-inch IPS LCD screen that has a pixel density of 259 pixels per inch, and also it is coated with Gorilla Glass 3, and it has Nokia's clear black technology as well, which should make for quite good contrast and improved sunlight legibility. Removing the device from the box, you can see the small quick start guide, which tells you a little more about the device if you don't know how to use it. And opening this part, we can see the charger. One thing to note is that, especially given that this is a budget device, it does not come with headphones. Now, looking at the device itself, it's quite attractive. It weighs 171 grams, it's quite nicely balanced in the hand. It looks exactly like an overgrown Lumia 640, but that's really no bad thing. Budget devices are never really meant to wow visually, and this certainly doesn't, but frankly I'll take a matte plastic slab that doesn't pick up fingerprints and be happy with it. So, looking at the bottom of the device, there's the micro USB port. The left side is completely devoid of anything. The top has a 3.5mm headphone jack, and the right hand side has a volume rocker and the power button. Turning to the back, with the Microsoft logo, a rear firing speaker which is placed on the top rather than the bottom, which is usually the case with these devices, and that actually is quite good for media consumption if you're right-handed, and I'll have maybe a little bit more on that later. There's also a single LED flash, the Zeiss branding, and this big pockmark of a 13 megapixel camera, which immediately, given that its very big size, calls to mind the Google Nexus 5 and its very big pockmark of a camera as well. Now that was a device which had a lot made of its camera, but the camera didn't turn out to be all that great. Whether that'll be the case with this is something that you'll have to wait for the full review to find out, but for the moment I'm actually reasonably optimistic. As I mentioned, it's a 13 megapixel camera, which should mean that in good lighting conditions, and the colour reproduction, well, given the PureView processing engine, the colour reproduction should be decent, the detail resolved should also be pretty good. I'm imagining that noise will be kept under control. However, given the small sensor size and the increased megapixel count, I'm not too optimistic about low light performance. Budget cameras usually perform really badly in low light, and I don't expect that this will be anything different. Now, for a quick size comparison with other devices. Firstly, I have a 5-inch device, the Nokia Lumia 930. And as you can see, the two are quite different in size. Although the Lumia 640 is slightly thinner than the 940, just very slightly, the 930 is much, much smaller. Now, switching to the 520, which is, I think, officially still the most popular Lumia device. The 640 XL is just comically massive compared to it. And now, compared to an old-fashioned candy bar phone, yeah, the the size is only further emphasised. This really is a Goliath, and I, as I said, have never used a device this big, and I have small hands, so it will be interesting to see how this turns out. Now, powering the device on, you can see the usual Windows Phone lock screen. Now, this device is powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 400 processor, that's quad-core, packed up with a gigabyte of RAM, and also an Adreno 305 GPU. And it has 8 gigabytes of internal memory, which can be supplemented by a microSD card. It takes a micro SIM, and it has a 3000 mAh battery, and I'm quite interested to see how the battery will perform on this. Given that it's a 720p screen and a large battery, I'm expecting to get decent performance out of this. So once again, powering it on, pulling it up, we can see that navigation around the OS is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. There's a very slight delay, but really it's no real problem. Windows Phone, as we've seen over the years, I mean even on the likes of the 520, which is a far, far less powerful device than this, really you can expect pretty fluid navigation. As regards to movie quality, sound reproduction, all that kind of stuff,